morning. As it relates to the bill, Mr. Speaker, we have made provision in this bill that anybody who earns more than $100,000 or more is entitled to apply for the 12-month welcome stamp. That we must be satisfied that they have health insurance or that they will get health insurance before reaching here from here, because we accept that we want you to be able to carry yourselves with that, with respect to access to health care. They must show that they have obviously a valid passport for passage and that the money that they're earning is from work from outside of Barbados and not required to be from within Barbados as we go forward. Mr. Speaker, in addition to that, the stamp shall preclude a person from also seeking to engage in employment in Barbados. If for whatever reason they want to transition, they are free to apply to the Chief Immigration Officer for any other forms of permissions that will allow them to work for persons in Barbados, but that is not what this is for. So this immediately precludes them so that Bajans need not worry that people are coming here to take your jobs. In fact, it's the very opposite. People are coming here to create jobs for Bajans, because as long as they're on island, then they need to be serviced and supported in order to be able to live here. They have to find somewhere to live. They have to find modes of transportation. They have to be able to eat. They have to have people who will help them with their clothes, help them with the other stuff around the house. This, in fact, does not take away jobs from Bajans. It creates jobs. You know, they say that the best form of flattery is imitation. And to that extent, Mr. Speaker, I am honored that there are other countries who are seeking to move in this direction, even though this has been announced less than 2 weeks ago. And let me be straight with you, sir. We had not launched this formally. I mentioned this in the context of a speech that I was given to prepare Barbadians and to prepare other persons in the industry for the fact that we were going to seek to create a category of visitor that would not be a short-term visitor, but that would add value to the economic condition of the country and the financial circumstances of those working across multiple sectors, not just tourism, but I've done enough to show you that in agriculture, it depends on the demand. In the merchant and retail sector, they too depend on the demand. In the people who are driving trucks to carry the goods to people, because if there is reduced economic activity, there is no need for a truckman to carry nothing to nobody. So that this affects from the fellas in the port, right, and airport, right back down to the point of sale in a restaurant, or in a hotel, or in a villa, or to the people who are just simply selling gasoline and diesel to the trucks and the taxis and those other people who hopefully will get some work from this. It is intended, Mr. Speaker, that this program starts from the 1st of August. We have already started to communicate it in public with a view that once this passes Parliament this week, we would be in a position to approve visas, hopefully from as early as this weekend, so that persons can start their trek from the 1st of August. It's ironic that that is also Emancipation Day, but we say symbolism is in everything that we do. Mr. Speaker, the fee for it, in the case of Barbados currency, is $4,000 for an individual, or $2,000 US, as we've been speaking, because most people will view it in terms of an international denominated currency. And if it is the family, whether it is you and your partner, your spouse, your children, dependents. I have an aunt, for example, who is deaf-mute. She has lived with my parents from the time I was a baby. My family, my parents' family, is my mother, my father, and my aunt, who is deaf-mute, who cannot be responsible for herself, but for whom my mother, and I will eternally praise my father, because it is not every young man who will agree to a third party in the household and to accept the responsibility of carrying the cost of that third party. And my father did it, and I salute him publicly for it. And he's done it for over 50 years. But that's what families are about. And that's why I say that let us not be carried into contortions and distortions and all kinds of things. This has been a country that has evinced the best examples of caring and empathy that I can find any part of the world. We are not better than anybody else, but nobody else is better than us as Bajans. And we must always, always remember that. And that what we must do is to be fair to people and to give people the opportunities, because not one of us have the power to be able to create life. Mr. Speaker, no employment, as I indicated. There will be a register kept by the Chief Immigration Officer that will have in the names of all who literally are coming to this country. And the application form is in the schedule. There have been a lot of questions asked about NIS and all of those things. Persons are not required to pay that here. In fact, the tax people will tell you about the totalization agreement that exists between us and the UK and Canada and the US with respect to these matters pertaining to Social Security. They're not paying taxes here. They're not paying NIS here. What they really are is a 12-month tourist, but a 12-month tourist who will be allowed the freedom to work without feeling guilty. They may spend 12 months straight. They may come and leave and spend a month and go back and come back and go back and come back, depending on the nature of their job. The important point is that they see Barbados as a safe place from which to work and to allow us to be able to maintain employment in our country for our people while the rest of the world finds a solution for a vaccine or therapeutics for this pandemic that has literally brought all travel activity and tourism activity to its knees globally. Mr. Speaker, will it work? I don't know. I believe it will. But I know this, that we have a duty to try. And we have a duty to do the things that can create opportunities and to create activity for our people. And this simple bill is intended so to do. This simple bill caught the imagination of the world even before we were ready to launch it. And that is the point that I was making, that I've never seen anything go as viral as this, as quickly as this, largely because the world was waiting for an expression of warmth and welcome from some part of the globe. And I believe that we have associated ourselves with values, with the cruise industry, with other people who have been stranded, that are worthy of the greatest teachers among us in all of the religions, who have shown what it is to be able to care and to take care of each other. This is in the solid tradition in which we were raised. And I believe, Mr. Speaker, that if we can do that, keep that tradition, while at the same time be able to earn for our people who are not working. Unemployment has virtually trebled in this country. Income and revenue in the first 2 months of the year, as I told you, was down by 31% in terms of revenue, and expenditure up by 21%. And even though we know these things, it is a different thing to experience it, because the sight of people not working and not working for weeks upon weeks, even when they're getting unemployment benefit. We know unemployment benefit doesn't give them the full amount, it gives them 60%. And therefore, our duty is to get people working as soon as possible. And this is but one of the programs. We hope that there will be an aggressive outreach regionally in terms of our tourism as well. We hope that we will also have aggressive outreaches for other forms of long-stay tourism. And what are the other forms of long-stay tourism? Students, and ultimately medical tourism. And this government is committed to both, as you can see in our manifesto. And for the avoidance of doubt, let me also say that when we get to the other questions, the things that we have said in the manifesto we hold dearly too still. But we have to recognize that we don't live in this world alone. And to that extent, we need to be able to draw in people. And whether it is more universities like Ross, or whether it is more clinics from overseas, building on what George Washington came to do, to cure his brother. Whether it is any of those things, we need to have multiple approaches, Mr. Speaker, in order to be able to ensure that we have a supply of business and revenue so that Barbadians do not suffer. I have said already that ultimately those who come to this country regularly will also be considered as we have the other discussion on what is happening with this country's overall population. And we will speak another day on that. But suffice it to say that we expect an immigration bill to come to the country for discussion. And why? This country will have a smaller workforce in less than 15 years than it has now. Mr. Speaker, it is so frightening that these are the kinds of conversations that we now have to have. And last week, the National Population Commission met for the first time with the Jobs and Investment Advisory Council. They've met now with the subcommittee dealing with the immigration bill. And why? Because, Mr. Speaker, part and parcel of what Barbados has suffered from in the last 40 years has been a reduction in the real value of our population, the real size of our population in real terms. Why? Because we have not replaced our population since 1980. And had we done so, we would have 80,000 more people at least living here, working, doing things. And you can't only do it by natural means, which I know some people will enjoy, but it has also to be done through a managed system of immigration, because at the end of the day, the gap is too wide, and instead of narrowing, it's gaping and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's why we've been forced into, some of the reasons why we've been forced into a lot of the difficulties that as a nation we're facing. So on a future occasion, we'll come back and see how other things will relate to that. But for this purpose, this is for the immediate purpose of stabilizing the economic well-being of this nation, allowing us to issue a 12-month welcome stamp to Barbados. We are in the business of hospitality. We are in the business of caring. We've done a good job at it in the past. We will continue to do a good job at it. We will continue to train and to retrain, and we will do so conscious that at the end of the day, if we share the best of who we are with those who visit, then God knows what opportunities will be created for us and for them. Because in that, they are seeing our heart, they're seeing who we are, and we're giving them the opportunity to have special memories at this very difficult time in their lives as they and their families fight the pandemic. Mr. Speaker, fortunately, the government has created the additional capacity such that we are in a position to manage many things. And as I said, at Harrison's Point, I'm knocking wood, we've not really had to use it thus far. I knock wood again to make sure that we don't have to use it going forward. But the good thing is that at that single facility, we have almost 3 times the number of intensive care beds that we've had in Barbados for the last 40 years or more. And that should put it in context to tell people what we have. On the 28th of March, when commercial air travel stopped coming to the country, we did not have Harrison's Point finished. So the last time we were taking people, we didn't have Harrison's Point finished. We didn't have all the ventilators in hand at the time because of the disruption in supply and the logistics chain. And we didn't have the 100 nurses from Cuba that we now have helping us. And I want to thank the government and people of Cuba for so graciously agreeing that they would leave here a large number of medical personnel to help us be able to manage this process, and to do so in a way that allows us to insulate our lone major healthcare institution as far as possible. Now, will it always be capable of being insulated? Probably not, because people will turn up with different conditions at different points. But what we do know is that whenever the virus arises, wherever it arises, our immediate job is to contain and manage. And that we have never said that we will never have it here, but we've always said no retreat, no surrender, in the language of the member for the city of Bridgetown. And why? Because we know how to respond, how to contain, and how to move forward with it. And those who have helped us to do that over the course of the last 5 months, I thank them once again from the floor of this House, and I say to others who are looking to come here, we have a wonderful team. I also want to thank those internationally who have allowed us to ensure that that which we need is immediately accessible. And I speak now to the people of Africa. I speak now to the Africa Medical Supplies Platform. I speak now to President Ramaphosa as well as President Kenyatta from South Africa and Kenya respectively. President Ramaphosa as chair of the African Union, President Kenyatta as chair of the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States, because they agreed formally a few weeks ago that the 15 member states of CARICOM, and indeed the associate members as well, would have access to a special procurement platform that they had to create with the assistance and support of the United Nations, and in particular the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. And I want to salute the Deputy Secretary General as well as the Director of that Economic Commission for Africa, respectively Mrs. Amina Mohammed and Ms. Vera Songwe, both of whom would have helped with the owner of a company called Econet, who would have put in place as the special envoy for the African Union this procurement platform. I want to thank the Director General of the World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros, as well, who would have put us in contact with these persons. And what does it mean? It means now that a country our size, or let's go even smaller, a country the size of St. Kitts, with a population of less than 40,000, can access PPE or in vitro diagnostics, be it the therapeutics or the vaccine when it comes, in a way that they could not access or we could not access easily on our own. But more importantly than access, it also means that the price which we pay is the same price as a country like Nigeria with over 200 million people. So that all of a sudden size is no longer an inhibitor to the kind of cost which we have to pay. Now, anybody who did what we had to do 3 months ago in trying to get PPE, in trying to get ventilators in what could only be described as the wild west, where there was a form of market failure, where countries became like small countries became like runts in the playground yard, where they were denied access because the orders that we place are just not big enough to command the attention of the people who are selling at increased prices and want increased volume. And if we didn't piggyback on some, or if we didn't have the generosity of persons, not just like Rihanna, who we salute, who helped us not just with the ventilators, but the tablets with the Clara Lionel Foundation that she has, and she's consistently helped Barbadians and Barbadian causes over the years. We thank her. But also those in the Sandy Lane Trust and the Barbados Charitable Trust and the Maria Holder Trust. Let me say here today from this spot, and I don't have the final accounting, but I know it is millions of dollars and way in excess of $10 million that has been donated by people who have come to call Barbados home. Some of the same remote people who would be the subject of the remote employment bill. And in some instances, they're here 3, 4, 5 months a year. But they've loved this country. And they've said to us, you are not going to walk this road alone. We are going to walk it with you. And some came together with local people and formed another charity as well, the Barbados COVID-19 charity, which today not only has helped families, but is also helping us today, even as we speak, with other matters that are being procured, and in particular the bracelets that we need to get to be able to better allow the public health people to monitor those who are in the community. Mr. Speaker, this has been an experience. I am not fooling you. But let us also remember who we are. And as we open up to the world to say, look, we have tried our best to keep this country safe. We believe we've done a reasonable job, and we will continue to do so. But the shadow of the economic implosion is long, and we need now to start to shorten it. And we shorten it by recognizing that short-stay tourism will not do for us what it normally does, and that we either need persons from low-risk countries like our regional neighbors, interregional tourism, or for the middle and other countries, we need people who are prepared to recognize that if you're coming to a safe country, you may have to take some steps to make sure that, like the rest of us who are safe here, you too will be safe here. And hence the limited quarantine for persons coming from the United States of America, which is once you are in that high-risk category, it's non-negotiable. And we don't choose who's in the high-risk category. It's the public health officials who do. It's the WHO and others who do. And they use a measurement that determines prevalence within the recent period of time that determines the categorization of risk. Against that background, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that we welcome all. And those who, in their exuberance, who may otherwise have wanted to communicate something else to the world, that is not who we are. Let us not get tied up. We've been welcoming people both here for centuries and decades of all types. And now is not the time for us to start to bring out parts of our culture or parts of our heart that are not really reflective of who Barbados is. That's not Barbados. That may be other people, it's not us. And I therefore say to us, let us get on with the business of hoping that we can promote this country, that we can create jobs for Bajans, and that we can get out of this period. There's a lot of stuff in the news the last 2 days about vaccines. That's one of the reasons why the African Medical Supplies platform is so critical to us, because on our own, and in the absence of the people's vaccine, which the world was trying to get but has not gotten, on our own, we will not get it. But together, as a region, working with other regions in the world who are equally our brothers and sisters, we can get it, and let us get on to not business like before, because I've said enough to let us know that this moment in time must be used as a platform for further progress and not as a platform to reach back to a time that created an imperfect and imperfect environment and a level of inequity that ought not to attend to the affairs of man, because it means that one man is viewed as superior and another inferior. I have said enough in this House to know that that is not our philosophy. Mr. Speaker, I ask the members of this honorable chamber to join me and to stand as one today as we move forward to make this offer to the citizens of the world to join us in this our land, this our special place. This, we're not perfect, but we are a good people, and we know how to live good with people, and we know how to live good on this earth and to play our part. And if we can do that with those who join us while we ride out this period of time until there is a therapeutic or a vaccine or some other way that allows us to get back on a trajectory of development, to get back on, as the Secretary General talked this weekend, a new global deal and a new social security pact, a new pact for all of us, then I believe, Mr. Speaker, Barbados can count itself among those who will help lead in this world, because ultimately it is about who we are, how we treat people, how we view ourselves, and how we welcome not only those who are visited, but how we treat to those who belong to us and live among us. I'm obliged to you and beg to move that this bill do now be read a second time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that the House be suspended until 2:15 p.m.
To what time?
2:15 p.m.
The question that this honorable chamber be suspended until 2:15 p.m. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it. This honorable chamber stands suspended until 2:15 p.m.